If your life ends in regret, it will not be because life cheated you. It will be because you cheated yourself. Not because the world denied you every chance, but because you met your chances with half of your strength, half of your courage, half of your mind. A man is not tortured on his last day by the things he failed at honestly. He is tortured by the things he never attempted, the effort he never gave, the greatness he felt pulling at him that he continually postponed. You can make peace with failure when you know you emptied yourself trying. What a man cannot escape is the quiet knowledge that he lived below his capacity on purpose. You already know this law, even if you have never named it. Think of any day when you gave yourself fully to a task. No holding back, no excuses, no hiding. You may have been tired, you may have stumbled, you may not even have achieved the results you hoped for. Yet when you laid your head down that night, there was a certain calm in your chest. You could say, if it was possible for me today, I did it. Compare that with the sick feeling that follows a day spent in avoidance and half effort. The task remains undone, your energy is strangely lower, and your respect for yourself has fallen another degree. This is the real punishment of holding back. Not what the world thinks of you, but what you begin to think of yourself. Most men live as if the goal were to avoid being wrong, not to become great. They ration their effort. They say, I will try, but not too hard. I will care, but not too much. I will invest, but not everything. They imagine that by keeping something in reserve, they are protecting themselves from disappointment. In truth, they are guaranteeing it. A life lived at 50% cannot help but produce results that feel empty. It is like a fire starved of fuel, always smoking, never blazing. Then these same men sit in the haze and say, perhaps it was never meant for me. You talk of wanting a better life. You speak of larger income, deeper peace, stronger body, more powerful mind, richer relationships. You have read perhaps about the power of desire, the importance of purpose, the necessity of faith. All of that is true, but there is a point at which talk must meet total commitment. Desire without wholehearted effort is a form of self-torment. You wake each day with a vision in your mind and then walk through the hours behaving as if that vision were optional. You are like a man declaring love while steadily proving indifference. Life believes your actions, not your speeches. Ask yourself with brutal honesty, where in my life have I ever truly given 100%? Not for an hour, not for a week, but long enough for that level of effort to become my normal. Many men cannot name a single area. They have known seasons of enthusiasm, moments of intensity, bursts of inspiration, but not sustained, disciplined fullness. They have sprinted at the start of a race and then walked the rest of the way, blaming the track for being too long. Giving 100% is not a momentary sprint. It is a decision about how you will meet your life day after day. You may protest, if I give 100% and still fail, I will be shattered. That fear is the chain that has kept you tame. You tell yourself that as long as you hold something back, you have not been truly tested. You can say, I could have done more, and hide behind that thought like a shield. You believe you are protecting your pride. But understand this. A pride that requires you to remain small in order to feel safe is not worth protecting. It is the pride of a man who lives in a narrow room and calls the open field dangerous. Failure does not break a man who has given his all. It strips him of illusions and leaves him with something solid. He can look at what went wrong with clear eyes because he is not haunted by the thought, if only I had tried. He knows he did. There is strength in that knowledge. He learns, adjusts, rises again, not as a man guessing, but as one who has tested. The man who fails at 50% never gains that advantage. He walks away burdened by doubt about himself, not simply about his strategy. He wonders forever whether it was the path or his cowardice that betrayed him. That is torment. You must decide which pain you are willing to endure, the honest pain of total effort or the corrosive pain of lifelong reservation. The first sharpens you, the second slowly dissolves you. And here is the truth that cowards never discover. When you give 100% to the life you want, even your failures become assets. Every attempt, every mistake, every hard-earned lesson becomes part of a structure that can support greater success later. Nothing is wasted. But when you move through life half-hearted, your failures are merely messes you never cleaned up, repetitions of the same weakness, circles walked in until you are dizzy. You may say, I am not lazy, I work hard. Perhaps you do. But are you working hard for your life, or simply hard within the cramped walls that others chose for you? A man can expend tremendous energy and still be withholding his true 100%. He may give everything to his employer and nothing to his own development. He may give everything to maintaining appearances and nothing to building inner strength. He may give everything to worrying and nothing to planning. The question is not, am I busy? The question is, am I fully committed to the life I truly want? To give 100%, you must first define what that life is. Vague wishes cannot command your all. You cannot pour yourself out for a mist. Success has always demanded definiteness. What sort of man do you intend to be? What kind of work do you intend to master? What standard of living do you intend to reach and maintain? What kind of character, discipline, and presence will you demand from yourself? Until you write these things plainly, your effort will scatter. You will work hard in one direction today, another direction tomorrow, and end up exhausted and confused, wondering why nothing seems to accumulate. Once you have defined the life you want with ruthless clarity, you must confront the question that most avoid. What will it actually require of me? Not in slogans, but in details. How many hours of focused work each day? How many years of study? What habits must I build? What comforts must I lay down? What associations must I limit? What beliefs must I uproot? Most men look away from this accounting because it frightens them. They prefer to say, we shall see, and keep things indefinite. Indefiniteness is a hiding place for half effort. As long as you refuse to count the cost, you can pretend you might pay it someday. Face it now. Write the price in ink. When you know the price, you can do something powerful. You can agree to pay it in full. That agreement is what it means to give 100%. It is not shouting, pounding your chest, and making dramatic declarations. It is sitting quietly with the actual demands of your chosen life and saying, yes, I will pay this day by day without running every time it hurts. That is the moment your character begins to transform. Until then, you are a negotiator, not a builder. You must also rid yourself of the habit of partial obedience to your own decisions. Many men decide in the morning and betray themselves by midday. They say, today I will do this, and then spend the day inventing reasons why today is different, why they can start tomorrow instead. Every such betrayal drains the strength from your will. You teach your inner mind that your word is weak. How can you expect yourself to give 100% when you have silently concluded that your own promises are flexible? From now on, treat your decisions about your life as you would a solemn oath. If you say you will do a thing, do it, even when every feeling rebels. The first time you do this, you will feel the shock of it. The 10th time, you will feel the birth of self-respect. The 100th time, you will understand that this is what it means to give yourself fully. Not to be carried by emotion, but to be driven by conviction. Many fear that giving 100% will consume them, leave them joyless and thin. This fear comes from confusing exhaustion with commitment. The man who works furiously without purpose, who tries to satisfy every demand and please every voice, will indeed burn out. But that is not giving 100% to the life he wants. That is scattering himself in 100 directions he does not truly choose. Real commitment simplifies. When you decide on the life you want and pledge yourself to it, many things fall away. You stop trying to be everything to everyone. You stop chasing every bright idea. You move with a narrower focus, but greater depth. That depth is where satisfaction lives. Consider the opposite picture. The man who always keeps something in reserve. He never quite commits to changing his health, so his body never quite responds. He never quite commits to learning his craft, so he remains promising for decades. He never quite commits to a standard of integrity, so his conscience never rests. He lives forever in the waiting room of his own life, flipping through the same old magazines of excuse and indecision. Ask him at 50 if he regrets anything, and watch his eyes. It is not the risks he took that haunt him. It is the risks he refused to take, the hours he knew he wasted, the talents he wrapped in a cloth and buried. You do not escape regret by hiding. You escape regret by exhausting your possibilities. A man who pours himself out for a worthy aim does not lie on his last day wishing he had been more careful. He wishes only that he had awakened sooner to how much was possible if he stopped hesitating. But he does not feel the poison of what if I'd tried. He knows he did. That knowledge is a crown no one can place on your head except you. The path to that crown begins where you stand, not in some future moment when conditions are perfect. You will never feel entirely ready to give 100%. You will always be able to point to some unresolved problem, some doubt, some lack of knowledge. If you wait for all doubts to vanish, you will die waiting. Giving 100% does not mean waiting until you have no fear. It means moving forward in spite of fear, using all you presently possess while continually enlarging what you possess. Look at your current day and ask, if I gave 100% today to the life I want, how would this day look different? Perhaps you would rise earlier. Perhaps you would spend the first quiet hour instructing your mind instead of drifting. Perhaps you would attack your most important work instead of avoiding it. Perhaps you would say no to a familiar distraction. Perhaps you would speak more honestly, train your body more seriously, handle your money more purposefully. These are not dramatic miracles. They are specific acts of loyalty to your own future. Carry that question into each decision. Is this the choice of a man giving 100% to the life he wants, or the choice of a man postponing it? Answer honestly, then act accordingly. You will feel resistance. That resistance is the old version of you trying to keep his throne. He has ruled for many years with half effort and full excuse. He will not step down quietly. But every time you choose in favor of your full commitment, you weaken him. Eventually, he becomes a memory, and the man who gives all becomes your new normal. You will never regret becoming that man. You will regret remaining his shadow. You say you want to give 100%, but habit pulls you back to giving just enough to soothe your conscience. That is the first enemy you must confront. This tendency to do almost enough. You know it well. You work until you feel mildly uncomfortable, then you stop and call it effort. You push until you sense resistance, then retreat and declare that you have done your part. This pattern has trained you to believe that anything more would be unreasonable. Yet everything you admire in others, every story of real transformation you have ever heard, came from men who walked beyond that boundary you treat as sacred. You must decide that almost is your true adversary. Not the economy, not your history, not the opinions of those around you. It is that word, almost, almost committed, almost focused, almost disciplined, almost honest, almost ready. This is the language of a man who wants the rewards of full commitment while clinging to the comfort of partial effort. Life answers him in kind. It sends him almost opportunities, almost breakthroughs, almost successes that slip away just when he begins to taste them. To break this pattern, you must teach yourself what 100% feels like in practice, not in imagination. It is not a mysterious state. It is measurable. When you sit down to work on something that matters, 100% means you are fully present. Your mind is not wandering back to past grievances or forward to future worries. Your hands are on the task. Your thoughts are on the task. Your will is on the task. You do not bounce from one thing to another. You stay. You give your full attention until the period you promised yourself is complete. That is 100% for that hour. Notice that 100% is not perfection. Perfection is a trap. It keeps men from beginning. They tell themselves, I must wait until I know everything, until I feel inspired, until conditions are ideal. That moment never comes, so they spend years polishing plans and calling it prudence. Giving 100% is not about doing everything flawlessly. It is about using everything you currently have. If you know little, you use that little completely while you are learning more. If you have limited resources, you use them wisely and fully instead of sighing over what you lack. If your courage is small, you spend every ounce of it today, and by spending it, you slowly increase it. You must also understand that giving 100% does not mean never resting. It means resting on purpose. There is a difference between restoration and escape. A man who rests to restore his strength is still serving his vision. He eats to work, sleeps to think clearly, steps away for a time to regain perspective. Even his rest is part of his 100%. The man who uses rest as a cloak for avoidance is serving his fear. He collapses into the easiest distraction, not because it renews him, but because it allows him to forget what he has promised himself. The first will rise, the second will decay. Both will say, I am tired. Only one is sincere. You have been taught perhaps to seek a balanced life. That phrase has been twisted into an excuse for mediocrity. Balance does not mean giving equal energy to everything without regard to importance. Balance means arranging your life so that the main thing receives the main strength and everything else takes its rightful place around it. If you treat your great purpose as one interest among many, it will remain as weak as the others. If you decide that your primary work, your character, and your contribution are central, then your 100% is simply this: living each day in a way that honors that decision. This will require a new relationship with time. Up to now, you have likely treated time as something that happens to you. You wake when you must, rush through tasks in reaction to demands, and collapse in the evening saying, the day is gone. If you want to give 100%, the day can no longer be something that happens to you. It must be something you shape. You must meet each morning with intention, not confusion. Before the demands of others rush in, you must ask, what must be done today to move my life in the direction I have chosen? Do not answer this with a vague list of everything you could do. That is how you drown. Choose the few actions that truly matter. The work that builds your craft, the study that enlightens your mind, the effort that strengthens your body, the commitments that guard your integrity. These are the pillars. If you pour your full effort into them each day, you can let the lesser tasks fit in around them. If you do not, you will spend your energy on trivialities and watch the years pass with nothing solid to show. You may say, but my days are already full. Full of what? Full of tasks that serve the life you want, or full of obligations you accepted without question, habits you never examined, diversions you never challenged. Giving 100% begins with the courage to clear space. You will have to disappoint some expectations. You will have to say no to some requests, even reasonable ones. You will have to stop trying to be the man who says yes to everything and start being the man who says yes only to what aligns with his chosen path. That, too, is a form of total effort. The effort to live by your own priorities, not everyone else's. There is another enemy of 100%. The habit of double-mindedness. You know the feeling. You sit down to work, but some part of you is still arguing against the work. You begin a new discipline, but some part of you is already planning the moment you will abandon it. You commit to a path, but you keep an eye on the exit door, telling yourself that you can always leave when it becomes difficult. This divided heart halves your power before you take a single step. Life responds to decision. The man who is all the time reconsidering, all the time asking, should I continue, wastes his strength on debate. The man who decides and then throws the weight of his will behind that decision moves faster, even if his path is not perfect. You will not find a great achievement built on permanent hesitation. At some point, every builder says, this is the course, and then acts as if that were final. If new information demands a change, he adapts, but he does not live in constant retreat from the possibility of error. You may fear such decisiveness because you have made poor decisions in the past. But understand this. It is not decisiveness that harmed you. It is the lack of thought before the decision and the lack of learning afterward. Now you know better. You can think clearly before you choose. You can reflect honestly after you act. Yet you must still choose. Giving 100% requires that once you have selected a course of action that aligns with your purpose, you stop bargaining with yourself and commit. Let us speak plainly about fear. Fear is the silent thief of full effort. You fear ridicule if you commit openly. You fear exposure if you give everything and come up short. You fear change because your current life, though unsatisfying, is familiar. To give 100% means to walk straight through these fears instead of orbiting around them. It means to act not because you feel brave, but because you have decided that the life you want is more important than the discomfort of fear. You will never feel entirely ready to give all of yourself to anything. That sense of almost readiness is a mirage. Men wait for a perfect inner state that never arrives. They say, once I feel stronger, clearer, more confident, then I will give everything. They are like sailors waiting for a sea without waves. The only way to become stronger, clearer, more confident is to begin now at your current level and pour your effort into each step. Confidence is not a condition you wait for. It is a result you earn by taking action in the presence of doubt. You must also confront your relationship with approval. Many men give only as much of themselves as they believe will be accepted by those around them. They hold back their true intensity, their ambition, their seriousness, for fear of being called extreme or arrogant. They pretend to be casual about their goals so that no one feels threatened. They joke about their dreams so that no one accuses them of taking themselves too seriously. Understand what you are really doing when you act this way. You are offering your life up to the opinions of people who will not bear your regrets. They will not be there when you lie awake at night wondering what might have been. They will not share the dull ache in your chest when you realize that you laughed along with those who mocked your own potential. They will return to their own concerns, rarely thinking of you, while you live with the cost of their influence. Giving 100% means withdrawing your loyalty from the judgment of the crowd and pledging it to your own conscience instead. Your conscience knows when you are holding back. You can lie to others. You can even lie to yourself for a time. But somewhere inside there's a part of you that has watched every compromise. It has seen every time you said yes when you meant no, every time you stopped short for fear of seeming odd, every time you took the smaller path because it was more acceptable. That inner witness is the source of both your deepest shame and your greatest possible pride. When you begin to live at 100%, you are not performing for the world. You are finally standing clean before that inner witness. This change will not be greeted with applause at first. When you start giving 100% to the life you want, you will disrupt the unspoken contracts you have with others. Some have become accustomed to your half effort. Your laziness has made them comfortable. Your compliance has benefited them. Your lack of boundaries has given them easy access to your time and energy. When you begin to live differently, they may resist. They may call you obsessed, selfish, or cold. Do not be surprised by this. When a man rises from the floor, those who are content lying down feel judged merely by his standing. They will try to pull him back, not because they truly wish him harm, but because his movement forces them to look at their own stillness. If you are not prepared for this, you will interpret their discomfort as a sign that you are wrong. You will retreat to make them feel better and call it kindness. It is not kindness. It is collusion with mutual weakness. There is a better way. Without anger, without arrogance, you can simply continue. Let your consistency speak. Over time, some of those who mocked you will quietly come and ask how you did it. Others will drift away. Both outcomes are acceptable. You are not responsible for dragging anyone up a hill they refuse to climb. You are responsible for no longer lying beside them when you know you were born to ascend. Now we come to the practical heart of this matter. How to live a single day at 100%. If you cannot do it for one day, you cannot do it for a year. Do not be intimidated by the length of your journey. Everything is contained in the next 24 hours. So ask, what would a man who is fully committed to the life he wants do with this day? Then do your best to imitate him, not in fantasy, but in concrete choices. He would not wake carelessly. He would rise at a chosen time, not whenever exhaustion forced him to. He would not begin his day reacting to other people's demands. He would begin by reminding himself of who he is becoming, of what he is building, of what matters most. He would give his early energy to his highest work, not to trivialities. He would face the tasks he had been avoiding and do them first. He would move his body with intention. He would speak truthfully. He would handle his money with purpose. He would treat his time as if it mattered, because he knows it does. Will you do all of this perfectly? No. But that is not the standard. The standard is whether, when the day closes, you can look back and say, I did not run from my duty. I did not hide from my own decisions. I did not treat my life as something cheap. If you can say that, you have given 100% for that day as far as your present understanding allows. Tomorrow, you will understand more, and your 100% will deepen. It is possible that you have never tasted the power of several such days in a row. You have known rare days like this, perhaps, but you treated them as exceptions, as moments when inspiration struck. Imagine instead making them your standard, even if you fall short often in the beginning. Imagine 30 days in which, more often than not, you honored what you said you would do. You faced what you wanted to avoid. You poured yourself into what matters and withdrew from what does not. You would not recognize yourself at the end of such a month. Giving 100% is not a grand gesture you make once. It is the sum of these days. Each day you hold back. You teach your mind that holding back is normal. Each day you lean in fully. You teach your mind that this is who you are. Slowly, the scale tips. The man who once saw commitment as extraordinary begins to see it as his only acceptable way of living. That is when the world begins to move. Not in response to your demands, but in response to the force of a human being who has finally decided to stop living as a fraction of himself. There is a moment, if you stay with this long enough, when you begin to feel something new in yourself, a kind of inner weight that was not there before. You walk into the same room, speak to the same people, face the same conditions, yet you are not the same man. You are no longer asking, can I do this? You are asking, what does this require of me today? That quiet shift is the mark of a man who has begun to live at 100%. He is not waiting to see if life will permit him to give his all. He has already granted himself that permission. But as soon as you enter this territory, you will meet your next test, setback. Many imagine that giving 100% is a charm against difficulty, that once they commit fully, the path will suddenly smooth out. In reality, your first seasons of total effort may be met with harder resistance than before. You will work more seriously and still, at times, see doors close. You will discipline yourself and still encounter misunderstanding, delays, and apparent unfairness. If you are not prepared, you will say, what is the use of giving everything if trouble comes anyway? You must understand this clearly. Difficulty is not a sign that 100% is failing. It is proof that 100% is being tested. Life never entrusts greater results to a man whose commitment has not been tried under strain. Anyone can give their all when the wind is at their back and applause is loud. The measure of your new standard is what you do when your best effort seems to make no immediate difference. Do you slip quietly back into old habits, muttering that nothing works? Or do you meet the resistance with the same full presence, adjust intelligently, and move again? This is where many abandon their vow. They interpret early resistance as final judgment. They forget that the earth itself resists the seed before yielding fruit. The soil does not open at the first touch. The root must press again, unseen. In that pressure, the plant grows strong enough to withstand storms later. Your life works by the same law. When you give 100% and meet a wall, you are being given something more valuable than ease. You are being given depth. The wall is asking, do you mean it? Your answer is not in your feelings, but in whether you continue. To continue, you must remove a dangerous belief. That effort must always feel exciting. When you first commit to a new standard, there is a rush of emotion. You feel alive, determined, almost intoxicated by the idea of total dedication. That rush is pleasant, but it is not the foundation. When it fades, and it always fades, you must not conclude that your commitment has died. What has died is the novelty. Now you are left with the simple, sober work of repeating your 100% today, and again tomorrow, and again the day after, whether or not you feel like proclaiming it to the world. Mature effort is quiet. It does not need constant stirring. It is guided by decision, not by excitement. A soldier does not re-enlist every morning. He lives from the oath he has already sworn. In the same way, you must learn to treat your original choice to give 100% as settled. The mood of the day may be bright or dark, the results may be quick or slow, but your standard does not bargain with these things. You simply ask, given how I feel today, given what I face today, what does my 100% look like? Then you do that. As you practice this, you will begin to see a powerful truth. The value of your effort is not measured only by today's results, but by the compounding of many days. The man who works with full attention for 1 week and then collapses into old habits for 2 gains little. The man who works with full attention, perhaps with fewer outward victories at first, but does so day after day, builds something invisible and immense. Momentum. It gathers quietly. Each day of 100% makes the next day's 100% slightly easier. Your mind grows accustomed to the demand. Your nerves stop protesting so loudly. Your will stops negotiating and begins obeying. This compounding effect is rarely seen by the man still inside it. He looks around and says, nothing is changing. But from the outside, to anyone who has walked this road, the change is obvious. His speech is less scattered. His eyes are clearer. His movements are more deliberate. His excuses are fewer. The quality of his work, even if still rough, carries a seriousness that cannot be faked. Opportunity notices this long before he does. People begin to sense that when this man says he will do a thing, he does it. That reputation is not built in a day. It is written in many days of 100% lived in private. There comes also a new clarity in what you will and will not accept from yourself. Before, you allowed yourself little bargains. You said this is good enough when some part of you knew it was not your best. You would look away from your own shortcuts. Now, the more you practice total effort, the less willing you are to watch yourself behave like a stranger. That inner witness we spoke of grows more alert. When you drift, you feel it at once. Not with panic, but with a firm no. That is not who I am anymore. You correct your course faster. This does not mean you become harsh and merciless with yourself. True 100% is not driven by self-hatred, it is driven by self-respect. There is a difference between condemning your failures and refusing to make peace with them. When you give 100%, you do not pretend you are flawless. You simply refuse to let your flaws dictate the rest of your life. You look at your weakness not to despair over it, but to understand how to act differently today. You use every shortcoming as a teacher instead of as a verdict. That is what a committed man does. He converts everything into fuel. You will notice as this mindset takes root that you have less appetite for blame. Blaming others is a favorite pastime of men who give 10% and then demand 100% results. They point to the government, their upbringing, their employer, their family, their friends, and say, look what they have done to my life. There may be truth in their grievances, but their obsession with what others have done is a confession. I have no intention of giving my all, so I must talk constantly about what others have withheld. When you begin to live differently, you lose interest in that game. You can still see injustice, but you are not content to sit and recite it. You are too busy asking, given all of this, what can I do today at 100%? You begin to feel a kind of impatience with long complaints, especially your own. Not because suffering is unreal, but because you now see how much energy it consumes without changing anything. You would rather pour that energy into creation, improvement, and action. This shift in attitude alone separates you from the vast crowd that spends their lives rehearsing their disadvantages. Another change appears in how you view opportunity. Before, you treated opportunities as rare visitors that might or might not come. You felt helpless, waiting for something to happen. Now you begin to see that your 100% is itself a signal. It sends word ahead of you. When you do your current work with care and thoroughness beyond what is expected, those who observe you learn something important, that you are safe to trust with more. Opportunity is often nothing more than responsibility moving toward the man who has proven he can carry it. This proof is not given in great public gestures. It is given in how you handle the small, unseen tasks that most treat lightly. The way you finish a day's work when no one is watching. The way you keep a promise that would be easy to forget. The way you prepare before a meeting. The way you save and manage your money even when it is still small. These are not glamorous, but they are the training ground for the larger demands you say you want. If you give 100% to them, you are not simply performing. You are practicing for future weight. You must understand, too, that giving 100% does not mean giving the same effort in every direction. You are a finite man. You cannot pour equal strength into all things without becoming brittle. Total commitment means that the things which matter most receive your best. You do not owe your full force to every trivial demand that knocks on your door. You owe it to your central purpose, to your highest responsibilities, to the standards you have chosen for your own character. This will lead you to make choices others do not understand. You may decline certain social gatherings because your study or rest or planning is more important. You may invest money into your development instead of into displays that would impress others. You may reduce your involvement in conversations that go nowhere so that your mind is free for clearer thought. These are not signs that you have become narrow or joyless. They are signs that you have stopped scattering yourself. You now live as if your life is precious, because you have finally decided that it is. As your commitment deepens, you will confront another test. Success itself in early forms. You will begin to see some of the rewards of your 100%. Perhaps your income grows, your health improves, your circle of influence widens. At this stage, many men make a grave mistake. They treat these first fruits as permission to relax their standard. They say, now that I have reached this level, I can ease up. I can go back to my old patterns. I have earned it. They treat success as a reason to lower their effort instead of to refine it. This is why so many early gains are lost. The man forgets that the very results he now enjoys are the direct outcome of his new level of commitment. He sees the harvest and stops sowing. He forgets that fields do not remain fertile by accident. If you return to careless habits, your results will eventually return to their former level, sometimes falling even lower, because now you must bear the memory of what you squandered. The answer is not to live in fear of losing what you gain, but to remember that your real reward is not the result. It is the kind of man you became in producing it. Money can be lost. Positions can be taken. Praise can fade. But the discipline, courage, and clarity you built by giving 100% cannot be stolen unless you willingly put them down. If you keep valuing those inner gains above every outer symbol, you will continue to give your full effort, not from anxiety, but from gratitude. You will say, I know what kind of life half effort produced. I will not go back. At some point, you may look around and see others who seem to be gaining more with less effort. They may appear to glide while you still labor. This is another temptation. To say, why should I give 100% when others are rewarded for 30%? That question reveals a dangerous confusion. You were never meant to base your standard on what others appear to be doing. You may see a man harvest without seeing the decades he sowed. You may see a man profit from privileges you do not share. You may see another cheat his way to a temporary advantage. None of that changes the law that governs your own life. The question is not, what are they doing? The question is, what will I demand of myself? When you allow the apparent shortcuts of others to weaken your commitment, you are saying that your character is for sale at the price of someone else's behavior. You become reactive, making your standards a mirror of your surroundings. That is the path to a bitter, hollow existence. It is none of your business how cheaply others choose to live. Your business is to make sure you do not join them in that bargain. Give everything to your path because it is yours. Give everything because you want to know, before your day's end, what a life looks like when a man stops hiding from his own power. Give everything because the alternative, training yourself to be smaller, softer, more afraid, leads only to a slow, quiet suffocation of the spirit. You will not regret discovering your full height. You will regret teaching yourself to walk forever hunched to fit under a ceiling that never truly existed. You may worry that total commitment will make you harsh, unable to enjoy simple pleasures. It will not if you keep one truth before you. 100% is not about intensity for its own sake. It is about alignment. When your daily actions line up with your deepest values and aims, you experience a kind of peace that no idle amusement can imitate. You can sit at a simple table, eat a modest meal, and feel a satisfaction far greater than a feast paid for with self-betrayal. You can enjoy rest without guilt because you know you have earned it. You can laugh without bitterness because you are not using laughter to cover a life you secretly despise. Your relationships will also change. As you give more of yourself to your chosen path, the way you show up with others will be different. You will no longer depend on them to distract you from your own avoidance. You will seek their company out of genuine regard, not mutual escape. You will speak more directly, not to wound, but because you no longer have patience for endless pretense. Some will be drawn to this new solidity. They will feel safer around a man who knows what he stands for. Others will fall away. Let them. Your task is not to be agreeable to everyone. Your task is to be dependable to those who matter and to be true to the life you have chosen. You might fear that giving 100% will make you inflexible, unable to adapt. In fact, the opposite is true. A half-committed man is fragile. Every change threatens him. Because he has no solid center, he was merely drifting with whatever current carried him. A fully committed man can adapt with calm because he knows his core aim. He can change methods without changing identity. He can alter plans without abandoning his standard. This is another advantage of living at 100%. You develop the inner steadiness to navigate uncertainty without losing yourself. And as the years pass, you will notice something else. The gap between who you wanted to be and who you are will narrow. Not because you've achieved some mythical perfection, but because you have stopped tolerating that gap. You act quickly when you see it widening. You apologize when you fall short. You correct when you catch yourself drifting. You no longer shrug and say, "That is just how I am." You say, "That is not acceptable for the man I am becoming," and you change. This is the quiet miracle of giving 100%. Day by day, decision by decision, you and your ideal self begin to resemble each other. The man you once only imagined becomes the man you naturally act like. There is no magic in this, only relentless consistency. But to those who watch from the outside, it looks like magic. They will say, "He has changed." They will not see the thousands of moments when you chose, again and again, to live fully instead of partially. But you will know, and that knowing, more than any praise, will be your reward. There will come a day, sooner than you think, when your life will reduce itself to a few clear questions. You will not care then how clever you seemed, how carefully you avoided criticism, or how many times you explained why you were not ready. You will ask yourself only this: did I live as a whole man, or did I live as a fraction? Did I hold anything back from the life I truly wanted, or did I pour myself into it without reserve? Did I spend my strength in service of my purpose, or did I protect my comfort and call that wisdom? In that hour, the only protection you will have against regret is the knowledge that you gave 100%. You may think that day is far away, but it is closer than you imagine. Each year passes faster than the last. The habits you are practicing now will be the chains or the wings of your later life. A man does not suddenly become brave at 60 if he has trained himself in caution at 30. He does not suddenly become disciplined if he has spent decades negotiating with his own promises. He does not suddenly become wholehearted if he has made a career out of half effort. The man on the last day is simply the sum of the thousands of days you are living now. Picture yourself as that older man for a moment, not as a fantasy, but as truth. Your hair has thinned, your step is slower, your body reminds you that it is not everlasting. You sit by a window one evening, watching the light fade, and your mind moves through your years. You remember the chances that came, the ideas you had, the talents that were given to you without payment, the small openings that could have become wide doors. What do you want that man to feel? Relief that he did all he could? Or a quiet horror that he saw the door and chose his chair instead? That older man already exists in seed form inside you. He is molded by what you do with this very day. When you hold back now, he becomes more bitter. When you give partially now, he grows more ashamed. When you give fully now, he grows more peaceful. You are building his face line by line with your choices. When you understand this, procrastination ceases to be a small fault and stands revealed as a crime against your own future. You are not merely delaying an action. You are shaping a man you will one day have to live inside. You may say, I will begin when I am more certain. Understand this. Certainty comes after commitment, not before. You do not gain conviction by repeating the same timid patterns. You gain conviction by giving all that you can to a chosen path, learning from what happens and adjusting as you go. A ship does not discover the coastline while tied to the dock. It leaves, it risks, and in the movement the route becomes clear. If you wait for perfect knowledge, you will be like a captain studying maps for a life he never sails. The fear that holds you is simple. You are afraid of discovering your actual limits. As long as you hold something back, you can comfort yourself with the thought, if I had truly tried, I might have succeeded. That thought is the pillow on which millions of wasted lives rest. It feels soft, but it suffocates. To give 100% is to strip away that pillow and say, I would rather know my true measure than live forever guessing. Even if your first efforts fall short, you have gained something priceless, an honest starting point. You can build from truth. You cannot build from fantasy. Consider a craftsman who never puts his full skill into any piece of work. He always leaves a margin of excuse. When his table cracks, he says, I did not really concentrate. When his chair squeaks, he shrugs, I was not serious about that one. In this way, he protects his pride at the cost of his greatness. Another craftsman commits fully to each piece. When his work fails, he does not say, I did not try. He asks, what can I learn? Over years, who becomes master? Not the one who guarded his ego, but the one who risked it again and again in the fire of total effort. Your life is your craft. Every day is a piece of work with your name on it. You can rush through, do just enough, and leave yourself the excuse of, I could have done more. Or you can treat each day as a board you will stand on later. One way builds a pile of weak planks. The other builds a floor that can carry weight. Ask yourself now, how many of your recent days would you trust to stand on in a storm? You may object, but I am tired. That is precisely why you must choose where to give 100%. Not every demand deserves your entire strength. You are not called to pour yourself out for every trivial request, every idle distraction, every passing curiosity. Giving 100% does not mean becoming a slave to busyness. It means becoming a servant to what truly matters. It demands that you withdraw energy from things that drain you for nothing and give that energy to things that build you into who you are meant to be. You will have to abandon the flattering lie that you have no time. You have the same number of hours as every man who ever built anything of value. The difference is not the amount, but how much of it you consecrate. When you say, I have no time, what you often mean is, I have filled my time with obligations and habits that do not serve my real purpose, and I am unwilling to lay them down. To give 100% is to begin cleaning this clutter. It means saying firmly, this goes, this stays, this can wait, this must be done now. Look at how you end your days. Do you close them with the dull ache of having drifted, or with the quiet fatigue of having fought for something worth the fight? The first is a tiredness that weakens. The second is a tiredness that strengthens. Men who give 100% do not avoid exhaustion. They earn a different kind of exhaustion. They sleep not from numbness, but from spent purpose. Their rest is deep because their effort was honest. You may fear that such a life will make you hard and joyless. On the contrary, half-hearted living is what makes men bitter. A man who always holds back begins to despise himself. He resents others who move ahead, finding tiny faults in them to excuse his own stagnation. His laughter becomes sharp, his judgments petty, his patience thin. Inside, he knows he is not doing what he could, and that knowledge leaks out as irritation. He criticizes what he secretly envies. A man who gives 100%, even in small beginnings, walks differently. He may be poor in the eyes of the world at first, but he is rich in something rarer, self-respect. He can look himself in the face. When he sees another man succeed, he may feel pain, but not the pain of shame, only the honest sting that says, I have more to learn. That pain moves him to action, not complaint. Over time, his joy grows not from ease, but from improvement. He learns to take satisfaction not in being better than others, but in being better than he was yesterday. That is joy that no one can take from him. Ask yourself, what kind of father, brother, husband, friend, leader do you become when you live at 100%? Not because you shout about it, but because you quietly refuse to live otherwise. Those around you will see a man who does not flinch at responsibility, who does not disappear when things are hard, who does not dissolve into excuses when he fails. They will feel the difference. Your presence will become a steadying force. People are drawn to those who are fully present in their own lives. Think also of the example you set without speaking. A child watching you decides what adulthood looks like. Is it a man who complains about his work while never doing more than necessary? Is it a man who dreams out loud but never backs his words with effort? Or is it a man who, regardless of circumstance, brings his whole self to the task at hand? You may preach 100 lessons, but the one that will stay is the life you actually live. Giving 100% is not only about your own destiny, it is about the permission you give others to rise above half-living. Yet you will never step into this life as long as you cling to the idea that you can keep one foot in safety. There is no safety in half-commitment. There is only a slow sinking that feels safe because it is gradual. You do not notice the water rising until it reaches your chin. Then you cry out, how did this happen? It happened one small compromise at a time, one day of almost effort after another. The world respects a man who goes all in more than a man who tiptoes forever. Even those who disagree with his aim feel the power of his certainty. There is something magnetic about a human being who has clearly decided, this is my path, and I will not live as a spectator. Opportunities are drawn to such a man because those who possess them are weary of dealing with people who cannot be counted on. A reputation for giving 100% is more valuable than any connection, any accidental advantage, any temporary stroke of fortune. If you doubt this, ask yourself, whom would you trust with your own most important tasks? The man of great talent who is careless, or the man of moderate talent who gives himself fully? Time after time, you would choose the second. So does life. When you give 100%, you may not start with the greatest natural gifts, but you develop the rarest gift of all, reliability. And in the long distance of a lifetime, reliability outruns talent that refuses to commit. How do you begin practically to step into this new life without being overwhelmed? You begin by choosing one area where you will no longer accept half effort. Not 10, not 5, 1. It may be your daily work, your physical health, your financial discipline, your personal integrity. Choose the area that, if transformed, would most change your opinion of yourself. Then define clearly what 100% looks like in that one arena. Specific, simple, measurable. For example, if you choose your work, 100% might mean, I arrive 5 minutes early, prepared. I do not waste the first hour. I complete what I promise by the time I promise. I learn something each day that improves my skill. If you choose your body, 100% might mean I move it with purpose each day. I feed it with respect, not as a garbage heap. I rest it enough to function with strength. These are not vague wishes, they are standards. Your job is to live up to them, not once, but consistently. Do not announce your decision to the world. The world has heard enough speeches. Let it see something different. A man who changes his ways and does not roar about it. Rise earlier, not to brag, but to use the quiet. Work harder, not to complain, but to gain competence. Save more, not to boast, but to build stability. Speak less, not from fear, but from respect for your own word. Over time, your life will begin to make a sound that others cannot ignore. The sound of consistency. You will stumble. You will have days when you do not live up to your 100%. The old version of you will try to use those days as proof that nothing has changed. Refuse to let him speak for you. One failure does not cancel a vow, it tests it. When you fall, do not indulge in long self-accusation. Look squarely at what happened. Learn what you can and return immediately to your standard. That is how new men are made. Not by never falling, but by shortening the distance between falling and rising. It may comfort you to know this. The very effort to give 100% brings help you could not have imagined while you were still hiding. When you move with full intention, people of similar mind appear. Doors you did not see begin to open. Ideas come that would never have visited a man still bargaining with his own laziness. This is not magic. It is the natural result of aligning your energy with a definite aim. You become a man in motion, and motion attracts. In the end, the only real question is whether you will live as a man divided or a man whole. A divided man always wonders, always hesitates, always watches others with restless eyes, always asks, what if? A whole man still has doubts, still faces fears, still meets resistance, but he knows where his loyalty lies. He has chosen his life and is willing to spend himself on it. He would rather arrive at the end empty of unused potential than full of preserved, untouched possibilities. You will never regret giving 100% to the life you truly want. You will only regret the days you treated that life as a side project. The years will pass whether you commit or not. The only difference will be what those years make of you. Begin now. Not tomorrow, not next season, not when conditions improve. Today is the only field you can plow. Bring all of yourself to it. Give your mind, your hands, your courage, your time, your persistence to the work of becoming the man you know you were meant to be. One day, that older man by the window will sit with his memories. Let him smile. Let him say, even if he did not reach every height he imagined, I did not hold back. I did not live as a spectator of my own life. I spent what I was given. That is a victory no circumstance can erase. That is the peace reserved not for the lucky, but for the few who dared to give all.